Hello, good day everyone, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install and also configure DHCP. Now, DHCP enables you to centrally administer your network settings, right, across the board. So across all your client devices, instead of you having to go and configure the network settings for each client device individually, okay? Now, it is very scalable, meaning that you can configure hundreds or even thousands of computers automatically, right? What we're going to do right now, first things first, is obviously install the DHCP role. Click on manage, go on add roles and features. Okay, now it will open the add roles and features wizard, right? So you can click next here also. Well, in my test environment, we only have one server we're working with, right? So this is the only server in the server pool. So I'll just go with that for now. In this checklist here, we have to make sure and tick DHCP servers. And after that, click add features, right? So just make sure the DHCP server is ticked because that is what we want to install. So click next after. This just giving you some things to note. You should configure at least one static IP address on this computer. Our DNS server, Active Directory, all of that has a static IP address already. Okay, but our client machines will be getting IP addresses automatically assigned to them by the DHCP server. But when we get to our client machine, we will get into that further. So click next. And it is always good practice to restart destination server automatically after you install a role, just to refresh it. So after that, you can click install and the installation process will begin. Okay, so we have finished installed our DHCP. Now what we have to do from here is click on complete DHCP configuration and it will open up this menu, this post install configuration wizard, indicating that they are just going to install a few security groups, right, which is DHCP administrators and DHCP users, right? And also if you click on next, it is important to authorize the DHCP server. This is because we do not want any rogue DHCP servers joining our network. Okay, so here in our authorization tab, we need to specify credentials to authorize the DHCP server in Active Directory. So here we're just going to use our JFTest 0 domain administrator account. After you've specified the credentials, you can click commit and you can click close. Okay, now that process has been completed. What you can do from here is restart the server. You can still continue from here and just go about as normal, but just to refresh the server to make sure everything has been updated as it's supposed to, we can restart the whole server. Now, upon restarting our server, as you can see right here, we have a DHCP server tile. Okay, so this has indicated that the DHCP has been, well, initially configured successfully. Okay, so from here, we are going to further configurations to the DHCP. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on Tools, click on DHCP, and what should open is a little menu here, right, showing your gftest.local server. And what we're going to be focused on right now is IP version 4, because that is what we've been using when setting up IP addresses and stuff. So just to keep it consistent, okay? So on IP version 4, the first thing we're going to do is define a scope, right? Now, what a scope basically is a range of IP addresses that can be given out on the network, right? With scopes, you can also exclude a number of IP addresses from being used. So for example, let's say you want to exclude the first few IP addresses to probably give static IP addresses to devices like a printer or something along those lines. You can do that. Now, in the wizard, we can click next and obviously name our scope. I'm just going to call it scope 1, just to keep it simple. So scope 1. From here, you can click next. And we're just going to define the range of addresses that we are going to be given to our client devices. Now, this will automatically give us our subnet mask. So that is pretty good. So 192.168. Let's go to the first 50. That seems to be decent. So click next. And exclusion and delay. What we can do, let us exclude the first 10. Right, so after you have set your exclusion range, you click add and go to next, right? And lease duration is basically Lease duration sets how long the client will have the IP address before it queries the server to validate or check if it can continue to use that address, right? So with devices such as mobile devices, and it will obviously, it won't be on your network all the time, right? Because you can carry your phone in many different places and connect to many different networks. So is in that case, it is better to give your that device, the mobile device, a shorter lease duration. Since we're working in a lab environment with two client machines, let us just leave the default as 8 days. So click next. Right, now it is asking us to configure DHCP options, which are basically additional options we can give to our client devices. So have it on yes. I want to configure these options now and click next. Now, as you can see, in this tab, they want us to specify the parent domain you want the client computers on your network to use for DNS name resolution. Now, they automatically gave us the jftest.local domain along with the IP address of the DNS server. They automatically gave us these settings. So these are the settings I'm going to keep for now. So click next. WNIS servers is outdated. This was before DNS servers was even a thing. So we don't have to use this right now. So click next. And do you want to activate this scope now? Yes, we can leave it as the default. And after that, click next. And we're basically finished here completing the new scope wizard. Now, if we refresh IPv version 4 and we go into our scope options, and go into address pool, you can see the range for distribution and also the IP addresses excluded from distribution. Now, this exclusion range doesn't have to start from the beginning. I just did it for this example. So you can put it more towards the end or wherever you see fit, okay? And if we just further skim through the IPv4 options, we can see that we currently have no address leased. This will, when we operate our client machines and get them functional, you will start to see the addresses that has been leased. And also, if we go into scope options, you can see the DNS server that we configured and also the domain name that we have configured. So we're on our Windows 10 client, and this will get, after some changes we make, we should get an address that is automatically assigned by the DHCP server. Okay, so from here, you right click on Open Network and Sharing Center, right click on the network adapter icon, go into Open Network and Sharing Center, go into Change Adapter Settings. Okay, so from your network connections tab, you right click, go into Properties, and they will ask you for credentials. So just enter the administrator account credentials. So it will be different for you, of course. In the last few videos, we did set up static IP addresses. This will have to change to use an IP address automatically, right? And also obtain server, DNS server address automatically, because the DHCP should be taking care of this. Okay, so once that is set, you can click OK and just make sure your changes has been saved. Right. Now, after we made that change to our method of attaining IP addresses, you can go in CMD, and just to verify, you can go ipconfig /all. And as you can see, if you look at our IPv4 address, remember we excluded the first 10. So it started from 11 now. And that is the IP address it gave us. So it's 192.168.0.11. And look at our address for the DNS server, which is 192.168.0.1, and also our DHCP server address. All right. And look here, if you see the lease obtained and the lease expired, remember we gave it 8 days. It starts from May 11th, right? And ends on Thursday, May the 19th. Now, the date on this computer is wrong, so that is why it is kind of out of date in reality, but it's just to show that the lease functionality is actually working. Now, what I'm going to do right now is go to my Vista client and make the same changes, okay? Okay, so we're on the Vista client. We have logged in, and now if you right-click on the network adapter option, go into Network and Sharing Center, go into Manage Network Connections, right-click, go into Properties, go into IP version 4. Now what we can do here is select the option Obtain an IP address automatically, which would contact DHCP as aforementioned to give us our IP addresses and the other addresses it needs to give us. From here, what we can do is do what we did on the Windows 10 clients, enter IP config /all. And as you can see, it has loaded us up. And if you watch our IP, let me see if I could expand just so you can see it. If you watch our IPv4 address right here, it is 192.168.0.12. Remember, we excluded the first 10, and the Windows 10 client occupies the 11th digits. So this will go on to 12. And if you look here, we have our connection-specific DNS suffix, right, which is our domain name, which we set up on our server. And all the settings should be similar to the Windows 10 clients, with only the IPv4 address moved up one spot to occupy that address. Now I am back on the server side, and I just want to show you all something. If I just refresh address leases, as you can see, remember earlier when we checked, it didn't have any address leases, any address leased out, right? But now, since we set up our client machines to inherit IP addresses from the DHCP, as you can see, as listed here, we have our two client machine, which is one with the .11 IP address. This is our Windows 10 client. And one here with .12. This is our Windows Vista client. Okay, so that is the end of our video, which is installing and configuring DHCP. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed making this video. And yeah, thank you very much for viewing.